full-time artist and I've been doing this for the past 10 years. But at the beginning of my career, it was one of my career goals to be able to sell my work at art galleries. And I thought it was just this great thing, this highest achievement to aspire to. And seriously, I was so wrong. And that's why I want to do this video. So that way if you're an artist trying to figure out how to get your art career going and start selling your art, you won't make some of the mistakes that I did. I'd also like to clarify here that this is my experience selling my work in small art galleries like co-op galleries, local art galleries. This is not an experience selling in very large professional galleries that are known and have a very good reputation for selling work. This is just small art galleries that you would find in your local community. The first gallery exhibition that I want to tell you about was a solo exhibition. It was at a gallery called 1001 in Winfield, Kansas, a very small little town. It's a co-op gallery where the artists pay money each month to have a spot on the wall. Well, then they would invite in one artist each month to have a solo exhibition that wasn't a part of their group that was kind of co-op that was paying for the gallery. And so I was invited in because I was a Wichita artist. I'm from a bigger town, and they thought that I have animal art. It was something that people in Winfield would like. And so I made flyers for the event, which cost me $100. I'm telling you all of this stuff because it all feeds into what I actually made off of doing the event. Now, they had a newspaper write-up article about me, which was really cool. And it kind of like made me feel awesome as an artist, right? To be recognized at this level. And so I thought, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. And I also knew people in the town because my mom lived there and she runs a small business in the area. So she was inviting all of her clients. And so it had all of this potential. And I was so excited. I had driven to Winfield several times to set up the show because Wichita is about an hour drive from Winfield. So at minimum, just drive time, it's 2 hours to go there and back every trip. And I think I went there 3 total times to do this show. And then I had to set up the work also and hang it and everything in there. And their hanging system, they had this really bad wire hanging system that was really difficult to work with. And so it took us a long time to do this, like several hours. My husband had to go with me also, so he had to take off work to be able to go with me because I can't physically lift stuff because I have tendonitis in my upper extremities, well, lots of other places as well, because of a connective tissue disorder. I've talked about that previously on my YouTube channel, but so I can't really lift anything over 5 pounds, and I can't lift artwork hanging high on the wall, climbing ladders, things like that. I can't do any of that stuff. And so he has to come with me when I set up shows. And so it took 2 of us several days of our lives doing the show. They put on an artist reception for me, and although their art gallery was open throughout the month, this was really the time to sell. It was a 2-hour time span where everybody was invited to come. It was a really fun time. One of my mom's friends, who is a really amazing guitar player, came there and played at the event. And lots of people showed up. At the time, I didn't know how many people I needed to have show up to be able to make good sales, but I think I had around 100 or 150 people show up to this reception, and so I thought it was good. But all in all, I only made $200. And so if you think about all the trips there and all the time wasted, $200 is not really worth it, especially when you have to consider the time that you put into making the art to begin with. But even more than this, and this is the thing I'm trying to warn you all about, is that I didn't have a good inventory list of what I had taken there. I just kind of trusted them on it because they were friends of my mom's who ran the gallery, and it was just kind of like, well, I know these people, she knows these people, it's cool, we're all friends here. Well, it turns out that they sold some of my work that I never got paid for. And we know this because we actually knew everybody who purchased work at the event. And so we could tally up all the things that I know that I sold, but they took the money for it, right? And I had no inventory list that they signed off on. So I couldn't prove that they actually made this money off of the work. And I had sold some of my books there and I never got paid for that either. One of the women who purchased the book was actually like, look, here is the check that I wrote you for this book. And so then they had to pay me. But we had to go to those kind of lengths to just get this little small amount of money that I was owed. And this doesn't include the 20% commission they charged me to be able to sell my artwork through their gallery. Of course, they kept that and they didn't pay me. So lesson learned, if you're going to sell your work through any art gallery or any other store like on consignment, have a very detailed inventory list that you make them sign off on before and after the show. Another art gallery show I did, well, series of art gallery shows, was at Hugh Gallery here in Wichita. Now they're no longer in business, but they were a beautiful gallery in the Arts District. And as Wichita goes, it was one of the best galleries you could get in for this town. But I would like to say though that most galleries here in Wichita suck. You don't want to show your work here in the town that I live. Although we are the largest city in Kansas, it's just not very good for the art scene. I have to travel outside of this area to make most of my living. But they gave me a portion of their wall, and then of course I had to have my husband go with me to hang the work because we were hanging the work ourselves. And so I went down there every month and I hung the work, and then I would go back down there to be there for the opening just for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, hang out in the art walk area and then leave. It wasn't something that I needed to stay there for the entire time, but it did take some effort. Mostly though, it tied up my work in the show. So I had all of these original paintings hanging on the wall in there, and while they were in there, I couldn't sell them anywhere else. And this is something to really think about. Like if you're going to put your artwork in a show, especially if you have to apply for it 6 months ahead of time, and then you have that one piece of work, that one painting accepted, you have to hold it back and not sell it anywhere else during that time. And maybe if you've only painted like a dozen paintings or so, that could really hold you back from making a living. So it's something to consider. But the time in, time out, it wasn't really that bad. But out of all of those shows, the only thing I got really out of it was selling one painting for $250, a really small 12 by 12 portrait of a cat. And all of that work, all of those trips down there, all of that hanging work for 6 months to only sell one painting is a pretty bad performance when it comes to your art career. I mean, you definitely can't live on it. It's also important to note that I didn't get to keep all of the money off of the sale of that painting. I had a 40% commission that I had to pay the gallery. So I only really earned $150 or so out of this painting, and that doesn't include the cost of the materials and my time to actually make the painting. Now, it did give me exposure, and they always try to say that exposure as an artist is a good thing, but I don't know if it really helps you to just get exposure. I mean, you really need to make money, right? You need to sell your work. So why would you want to do an art gallery show at a small or medium-sized art gallery? Well, it's community involvement. That's one really big reason. Like going to Winfield and being able to show my work to all of my mom's friends and help support their gallery. It was an awesome thing to do if they wouldn't have like burned me on the back end and not paid me for what I actually sold. But so community involvement is one reason. Another reason is to pad your CV. So if you are a professional who's went to school for art, has a BFA or an MFA, you might need to have a CV where it's basically an artist resume where you have all of these different exhibitions listed on there, and you need to have a very large exhibition record to be able to get teaching jobs and things like that. So if you're looking to pad your CV, then small art shows at art galleries are great. Also, I think it built my confidence as an artist to be able to have an art gallery show. It made me feel like my art was good enough to sell to other people and in a gallery, and it gave me confidence to start going out on my own and selling at art fairs, which is really, in my opinion, where the money's at. If you'd like to learn an easy mindset hack for beginners on how to sell your art, watch this video. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.